Captain Amanda Roberts stood at the viewport of the exploration vessel Endeavour, gazing at the small rocky planet below. Proxima 7 was supposed to be uninhabited except for a Galactic Alliance research station. Now that station was sending out a distress signal, and it was her job to find out why. "How long until we're in position to send down a team?" she asked. Lieutenant Greg Patterson checked his console. 20 minutes, Captain." Amanda nodded and turned to the tall man beside her. "Dr. Jones, are you ready?" Dr. Eric Jones adjusted his glasses. "My team is prepared, Captain, though I must say the lack of communication from the station is concerning. That's why Frank is going with you," Amanda said, gesturing to the stocky security chief who was checking his weapon in the corner of the bridge. Security Chief Frank Miller grunted. "My team will ensure everyone's safety, but I don't like this. The Alliance doesn't abandon stations without good reason." Science Officer Olivia Grant looked up from her station, her eyes bright with excitement despite the tension. The last transmission mentioned a breakthrough, something about a new species. That was 3 weeks ago. All the more reason to be careful, Frank replied. 90 minutes later, the away team stood in the ruins of what had once been a state-of-the-art research facility. Emergency lights cast eerie red shadows across overturned furniture and shattered lab equipment. "What happened?" "Here," Olivia whispered, running her scanner over a set of deep gouges in the metal wall. Frank kept his weapon ready. These marks and something broke out, not in. Eric bent down to examine a dried puddle of purple liquid. "This isn't human blood, or any Alliance species I recognize." They moved deeper into the station, following a trail of destruction. The damage became worse as they descended to the lower levels. In what appeared to be a high-security containment area, they found the doors ripped from their hinges. "Captain," Frank spoke into his communicator, "we've found evidence of a containment breach, requesting permission to abort the mission." "Negative," Amanda's voice crackled back. "We need to know what happened. Proceed with caution." As they entered the containment room, their lights fell on broken glass tanks and torn restraints. Monitors still displayed vital signs for something labeled only as Subject X-37. "Look," Olivia pointed to a small ventilation shaft in the corner of the room. Dark liquid trailed from it. Frank aimed his weapon at the shaft. Whatever was in here escaped through there. A soft whimpering sound made them all freeze. "Did you hear that?" Eric whispered. The sound came again, from behind a fallen cabinet. Frank motioned for the others to stay back as he slowly approached, weapon raised. "Frank, wait," Olivia said. "It sounds injured." Frank ignored her, moving the cabinet aside with one hand while keeping his weapon steady. In the corner lay a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. About the size of a small dog, it had iridescent scales that shifted color with each labored breath. 6 limbs curled protectively around its body, and a long tail wrapped over what appeared to be a wound in its side. When it sensed them, it raised its head, revealing enormous eyes that seemed to glow from within. "Don't move," Frank ordered, keeping his weapon trained on the creature. Eric pushed past him, medical scanner in hand. "It's hurt. And dangerous," Frank replied. "Look what it did to this place." The creature made a soft, chirping noise, its eyes fixed on Olivia. She felt a strange pressure in her mind, like someone knocking on a door. "It's trying to communicate," she said, taking a step forward. "Stay back," Frank warned. Olivia ignored him, kneeling a few feet from the creature. "It's okay," she said softly. "We won't hurt you." The pressure in her mind increased, then suddenly gave way to a flood of images and emotions. Fear, pain, captivity, escape, all compressed into a moment that left her gasping. "It's telepathic," she managed to say. "They were experimenting on it." Eric was already preparing a medical kit. "We need to take it back to the ship. It's losing blood." "Absolutely not," Frank said firmly. "Protocol is clear about unknown alien species, especially ones that can tear apart a station." "It was defending itself," Olivia argued, the creature's emotions still raw in her mind. "They were hurting it." Their argument was interrupted by Amanda's voice over the communicator. "Away team, Return to the shuttle immediately. We've received an emergency transmission from Alliance Command. Back on the Endeavor, Amanda played the transmission for the away team. A stern-faced Alliance officer appeared on the screen. This is Admiral Paul Wright of Galactic Alliance Command. We have tracked dangerous biological material to your location. The entity designated Species X-37 must be terminated immediately. It poses an extreme threat to all sentient life. Any attempt to preserve the specimen will result in severe consequences. Containment failure is not an option. Right out. Silence fell over the bridge. The creature, now sedated in a portable containment field, lay on a medical table nearby. You heard the Admiral, Frank said. We need to destroy it. We can't just kill it, Eric protested. This could be a new sentient species. Amanda looked troubled. The Alliance doesn't issue termination orders lightly. Captain, Olivia said, her voice shaking slightly. There's something you need to know. She explained the telepathic connection, the images of experiments that would violate every ethical scientific standard. It's not hostile, she insisted. It's scared. As if responding to her words, the creature stirred. Its eyes opened, focusing immediately on Olivia. The containment field monitor beeped rapidly. It's wounds, Eric said in amazement. They're healing at an incredible rate. The creature uncurled its limbs and rose to a sitting position. Frank reached for his weapon, but Amanda held up a hand, stopping him. The pressure returned to Olivia's mind, but gentler this time. A question. Tentative trust. And something else. Gratitude. It understands we helped it, she said. The creature chirped softly, its scales shifting to a warm golden hue. One small limb reached out toward the field, stopping at the invisible barrier. Captain, Frank warned, we have direct orders. Amanda looked from the creature to her crew, then back to the alien being that somehow seemed more vulnerable than dangerous despite what it had apparently done to the research station. This is my ship, she said finally, and I won't execute a sentient being without understanding the full situation. She turned to the communications officer. Send a message to Alliance Command. Tell them we're bringing in Species X-37 for proper evaluation. The creature's eyes seemed to brighten as it looked at each of them in turn. When its gaze met Olivia's, she felt a new sensation in her mind. A name, or something like it. A concept that felt like energy and light. Spark, she said aloud. I think that's its name. None of them knew it yet, but that moment would change the course of human history and shake the foundations of the Galactic Alliance. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy had found unlikely allies, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Endeavor moved swiftly through space, its engines pushed to maximum speed. Captain Amanda Roberts had made a choice that now put her ship and crew in danger. Behind them, 3 Galactic Alliance vessels followed in pursuit. They're gaining on us, Lieutenant Greg Patterson reported from the helm. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he tried to squeeze more speed from the engines. Amanda stood tall, her face showing no fear despite the situation. Keep our course for the Orion Passage. The asteroid field might give us some advantage. In the medical bay, Dr. Eric Jones and Science Officer Olivia Grant watched over the creature they now called Spark. Its wounds had healed completely in just a few hours, leaving no trace of injury. Now it moved around the containment field, studying everything with curious eyes. Remarkable, Eric said, recording data on his tablet. Its cellular structure is unlike anything I've seen before. The ability to heal at such a rate alone would be considered valuable. Olivia wasn't listening. She sat near the field, her eyes closed as images flooded her mind. The telepathic link between her and Spark had grown stronger. What started as feelings and simple ideas had become more complex. They're called the Vexari, she said suddenly, opening her eyes. They're an ancient species. Spark believes it might be the last of its kind. Eric looked up from his tablet. It's telling you this? Not with words exactly, it's more like memories, images. Olivia's expression darkened. The Galactic Alliance didn't find the Vexari. They created them. The ship rocked violently as something struck the shields. Security Chief Frank Miller rushed into the medical bay, his face tight with anger. "The Alliance ships are firing warning shots," he said. "Captain wants you and the creature in the secure conference room now." In the conference room, a holographic message played from Admiral Paul Wright. His uniform was perfectly pressed, but his eyes showed rage. "Captain Roberts, your actions are a direct violation of Alliance security protocols. The entity you are harboring is classified as a Omega-level threat. Return it to Alliance custody immediately, or we will be forced to disable your vessel and retrieve it ourselves." Amanda shut off the message and looked around the table at her senior officers. "Opinions?" Frank didn't hesitate. "We follow orders, Captain. The Alliance doesn't classify something as Omega level without reason." "The Alliance lied," Olivia interrupted. She explained what Spark had shown her, how Alliance scientists had experimented with combining DNA from various species, trying to create the perfect biological weapon. The Vexari were the result, beings with incredible abilities but their own minds and wills. When the Vexari refused to be weapons, the Alliance tried to force them, Olivia continued. They killed most of them. Spark was being tortured, trying to make it comply. The ship shook again as another warning shot hit the shields. "Even if what you're saying is true," Frank argued, "this isn't our fight. We're putting everyone on this ship in danger." "Show them," Olivia said, turning to Spark, who sat quietly beside her. The creature's scales shifted to a deep blue color. It raised one limb toward the center of the table. A small ball of energy formed above its palm, pulsing with light. The ball expanded, becoming a holographic display showing images that confirmed Olivia's words. Laboratories, other Vexari in pain, Alliance scientists conducting experiments. "It can manipulate energy at the subatomic level," Eric explained, his voice filled with awe. "That's why the Alliance fears it. With abilities like that, it could theoretically destroy an entire planet." Frank finished grimly. Spark made a soft, chirping sound. The hologram changed to show a different memory. Vexari helping other species, healing, building, creating beautiful structures of light and energy. "They were peaceful," Olivia said. "They only wanted to live free." Amanda was silent for a long moment, weighing her responsibilities as a captain against what she was seeing. The ship's communication system interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, incoming transmission from the lead Alliance vessel." "Put it through," Amanda ordered. The face of a stern woman appeared on screen. "Captain Roberts, this is Commander Diane Wells. You have 5 minutes to power down your engines and prepare to be boarded or we will open fire. This is your final warning." Amanda looked at Spark, then back at the screen. "Commander Wells, I request to speak with Admiral Wright directly." "The Admiral has given his orders," Wells replied coldly. "Then I need to inform you that we have evidence of Alliance violations of the Sentient Rights Treaty. We're prepared to broadcast this evidence to every member world if any action is taken against this ship." Commander Wells's expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed slightly. 4 minutes, Captain." The transmission ended. Frank stood up. "They're going to fire on us." As if confirming his words, the ship rocked violently. Red alert warnings blared through the corridors. Shields down to 60%. Greg's voice came over the comm system. "They're targeting our engines." Another blast hit the ship. Lights flickered and equipment crashed to the floor. "We can't outrun them and we can't outfight them," Frank said, helping Amanda to her feet. Spark moved to the center of the room, its scales now glowing with a bright white light. It looked at Olivia, sending her a clear question through their link. "It wants to help," she told the others. "It can disable their weapons without harming the people aboard." Frank laughed bitterly. "You expect us to believe it won't just destroy them?" "I trust it," Olivia said simply. Another hit rocked the ship. "Shields at 40%, Greg reported. Amanda made her decision. "Do it." Spark's body began to glow brighter. It raised all 6 limbs and closed its large eyes in concentration. The light surrounding it pulsed once, then shot outward through the walls of the ship like a wave of energy. On the bridge view screen, they watched as the wave reached the Alliance ships. Their lights flickered, then went dark. The ships drifted, powerless. What did it do? Amanda asked when Spark returned to its normal color. Temporarily rewired the energy flow in their systems, Olivia explained, the knowledge coming to her through their link. They'll have life support and basic functions, but weapons and engines will be offline for about 6 hours. Amanda nodded and turned to her navigation officer. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. She looked at her crew, determination in her eyes. If we're going to stand against the Galactic Alliance, we're going to need help. Our people need to know the truth. As the Endeavour jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the disabled Alliance ships behind, Spark moved to a viewport, gazing out at the stars with what almost looked like hope in its large, expressive eyes. None of them could know that they had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The most dangerous creature in known space had chosen humans as its allies, and thousands of years of Galactic Alliance dominance were about to be challenged. The Endeavour approached Earth's orbital defense station with caution. Captain Amanda Roberts stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched her home planet grow larger on the view screen. "They're hailing us, Lieutenant," Greg Patterson said from his station. Amanda took a deep breath. "Put them through." A stern-faced woman in an Earth Defense Force uniform appeared on screen. "Exploration Vessel Endeavour. This is General Lisa Nakamura of Earth Defense Command. We've received disturbing reports from the Galactic Alliance concerning your ship. Please explain your situation." "General Nakamura, request permission to dock and brief you in person," Amanda replied formally. "The situation is complicated." General Nakamura's eyes narrowed. "The Alliance is demanding we hand over an escaped biological weapon you're harboring. They've threatened sanctions against Earth if we don't comply." "It's not a weapon, General. It's a refugee seeking asylum." Amanda leaned forward. "And we have evidence the Alliance has violated its own laws. Please just give us a chance to explain." After a long pause, the General nodded. "Permission granted, but your ship will remain under guard, and this refugee will be kept in secure containment until we determine the facts." 3 hours later, Amanda, Dr. Eric Jones, Science Officer, Olivia Grant, and Security Chief Frank Miller sat in a conference room at Earth Defense Headquarters. Across from them sat General Nakamura and Dr. Kevin Bell, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "Let me get this straight," General Nakamura said after they had explained everything. "You disobeyed direct orders from the Alliance, potentially started a diplomatic incident, and brought to Earth what they're calling the most dangerous creature in the galaxy." "That's an exaggeration," Eric said. "Yes, Spark has remarkable abilities, but it's not inherently dangerous." Dr. Bell adjusted his glasses, looking at the datapad in front of him. "According to these readings, this Spark could theoretically manipulate matter at the quantum level. The destructive potential is significant. Spark doesn't want to hurt anyone," Olivia insisted. "The Alliance created the Vexari as weapons, but they refused to be used that way. That's why they were nearly wiped out." Frank, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "With all due respect, we only have the creature's word on that, and Officer Grant's interpretation of its telepathic communications." "I want to see it," Dr. Bell said suddenly. Spark was being kept in a special containment room 3 levels below. As they entered, they saw the creature moving calmly around the space, its scales shifting through various colors as it examined its surroundings. When it noticed them, especially Olivia, its scales turned a warm golden color, and it made a chirping sound that somehow conveyed happiness. Dr. Bell approached the containment field cautiously. "Remarkable. Its cellular structure is unlike anything I've seen." "The Alliance sent us these," General Nakamura said, activating a screen. Images appeared, showing destruction on a massive scale, buildings torn apart, landscapes devastated. They claim this is what the Vexari are capable of. Olivia looked at Spark, who had moved to the edge of the containment field. The creature's eyes seemed sad as it looked at the images. "Ask it," General Nakamura ordered. Olivia closed her eyes, focusing on the telepathic link she shared with Spark. Images and feelings flowed between them. When she opened her eyes again, they were wet with tears. Some Vexari did cause destruction, she admitted, but only after the Alliance started killing them. They were defending themselves. Dr. Bell had been running scans on Spark during this exchange. He looked up from his instruments with surprise. "General, these brain pattern readings, they don't match what we'd expect from a predator or a weapon. They're more similar to species we classify as caregivers or healers." Before anyone could respond, an alarm sounded. Lieutenant Patterson's voice came over the comm system. "Captain Roberts, 3 Alliance battleships have entered Earth orbit. Admiral Wright is demanding we surrender the Vexari immediately or face military action." General Nakamura's face hardened. "The Alliance wouldn't dare attack Earth?" "They seem pretty determined," Amanda said. "We need to make a decision." "I need more time," General Nakamura replied. "Keep the creature secure while we—" She was interrupted by a commotion outside the room. The door slid open to reveal a junior officer, his face pale with fear. "General, there's been an accident in engineering. Chief Willis is trapped under collapsed equipment. Medical can't reach him in time." Without hesitation, Olivia turned to Spark. "Can you help him?" The creature's scales shifted to a deep blue. It looked at General Nakamura, then at the containment field controls. "You can't seriously be considering letting it out," Frank protested. "A man is dying," Olivia countered. "Spark can save him." After a moment of tense silence, General Nakamura nodded. "Do it." But at the first sign of trouble, Dr. Bell deactivated the containment field. Spark moved quickly but gently, following the junior officer through the corridors to engineering. The others ran behind, Frank with his hand on his weapon. In engineering, they found a chaotic scene. A large piece of equipment had collapsed, pinning Chief Willis underneath. Blood pooled around him, and his breathing was shallow. Medical staff stood helplessly nearby. "We can't move the equipment without causing more damage," one explained, "and we can't treat him until it's moved." Spark approached without hesitation. As it neared the injured man, its scales began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. It placed 2 of its limbs on the fallen equipment and 2 on Chief Willis. The air around them seemed to shimmer. Slowly, impossibly, the heavy equipment rose, as if it weighed nothing. Medical staff quickly pulled Chief Willis clear. Instead of letting the equipment crash back down, Spark gently set it aside, but the creature wasn't finished. It moved to where Chief Willis lay on the floor, his injuries severe and clearly life-threatening. Placing all 6 of its limbs on different parts of the man's body, Spark's scales began to pulse with a bright white light. Everyone watched in amazement as the wounds began to close. Broken bones realigned. Color returned to the man's face. After several minutes, Chief Willis took a deep breath and opened his eyes. What happened?" he asked, sitting up with no sign of injury. The room fell silent. Then, one by one, people began to applaud. Spark's scales turned a shy pink color as it backed away from the attention. Later, back in the conference room, Admiral Wright's face filled the view screen. His expression was furious. "General Nakamura, I order you to surrender the Vexari specimen immediately." General Nakamura stood tall. "Admiral, we have chosen to grant this being asylum while we investigate your claims. And frankly, what we've seen so far contradicts what you've told us." "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Wright warned. "Perhaps not," General Nakamura replied, "but we intend to find out for ourselves." After the transmission ended, she turned to the others. "The Alliance won't take this lightly. They might impose sanctions, even threaten military action." "Earth can handle it," Amanda said confidently. Dr. Bell, who had been reviewing his data, looked up. "I believe I can help convince the world governments to support this decision. These readings clearly show the Vexari is not the mindless weapon the Alliance described." As they discussed next steps, Olivia sat quietly with Spark. Through their telepathic link, she felt the creature's gratitude and something else, hope. For the first time since its escape, Spark believed it might have found a place where it could live in peace. Outside Earth's atmosphere, more Alliance ships began to gather. The conflict was just beginning, but humanity had taken its first step toward changing the balance of power in the galaxy. 2 weeks had passed since Earth granted Spark asylum. The Galactic Alliance had responded with harsh sanctions, cutting off trade routes and recalling their ambassadors. Every day, more Alliance ships arrived in Earth's solar system, creating a blockade that grew increasingly threatening. In a large conference room at Earth Defense Headquarters, Captain Amanda Roberts and her crew sat with Earth's leaders, watching a news broadcast on a large screen. Protests have erupted on 17 Alliance worlds, the reporter said as images of alien crowds filled the screen. Many citizens are demanding their governments reconsider the stance against Earth and the refugee Vexari. Ambassador Nancy Chen muted the broadcast and turned to the others. Public opinion is shifting in our favor, but the Alliance leadership isn't budging. They're demanding we hand over Spark or face more severe consequences. General Lisa Nakamura studied the tactical display showing the growing number of Alliance ships. They're positioning for a possible attack. Commander Bailey has our defense fleet ready, but we're outnumbered. Olivia sat next to Spark, who watched everything with alert eyes. Over the past 2 weeks, their telepathic bond had grown stronger. Now Spark could share more complex thoughts, even communicating with others through Olivia as a translator. Spark says there are other species who fear the Alliance, Olivia told the group. Many have been waiting for someone to stand up to them. Dr. Kevin Bell nodded eagerly. The scientific community is fascinated by what we're learning. Spark's ability to manipulate energy at the quantum level has already helped us make breakthroughs in medicine and clean energy. Speaking of which, Amanda added, the healing techniques Spark has shown us have been successfully used in 5 hospitals now. Commander Scott Bailey, head of Earth's defense fleet, spoke up for the first time. That's all well and good, but we're still facing a potential war with the most powerful force in the galaxy. As if to emphasize his point, an aide rushed into the room. General Nakamura, we're receiving transmissions from multiple non-Alliance worlds. They want to establish direct communications with Earth. Put them through, General Nakamura ordered. The screen split to show representatives from 3 different alien species. None of them were from the dominant races of the Galactic Alliance. People of Earth, said a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes. I am Council Leader Zrek of the Novan Collective. We have been monitoring your situation. Your protection of the Vexari is unexpected. A reptilian alien spoke next. The Alliance has oppressed many species for centuries. If you truly stand against them, you may find more allies than you expected. The third alien, a small figure with translucent skin, nodded. We have endured the Alliance's protection too long. Their fear of the Vexari is fear of losing control. Ambassador Chen leaned forward. We welcome your support, but we must be clear. Earth is not seeking war. We simply believe the Vexari deserve the same rights as any sentient species. A noble sentiment, said Council Leader Zrek. But the Alliance will not see it that way. Be prepared. After the transmission ended, the room fell silent. Finally, Amanda spoke. It seems we're not alone in questioning Alliance authority. This changes the strategic picture, Commander Bailey admitted. With allies, we might have a chance if things turn violent. Spark made a series of chirping sounds. Olivia listened, then relayed the message. Spark says there may be a way to demonstrate to everyone that the Vexari aren't the weapons the Alliance claims. It wants to help improve Earth's technology, to show the positive potential of its abilities. Over the next week, Spark worked with scientists and engineers. The results were remarkable. New medical devices that could heal previously untreatable conditions. Energy systems that were twice as efficient as anything before. Communications technology that worked across vast distances with no delay. News of these developments spread quickly throughout the galaxy. More species began to contact Earth, offering support and expressing interest in the Vexari's abilities. The Alliance's propaganda about Spark being a dangerous weapon became harder to believe as images of it helping humans were broadcast across countless worlds. Admiral Wright was not pleased. In an emergency session of the Alliance High Council, he pounded his fist on the table. The humans are making us look like fools. The Vexari was created as a weapon, and that's what it is, no matter how they've tamed it temporarily. High Counselor Ziv, one of the more moderate voices in the Alliance, looked thoughtful. Perhaps we've misjudged both the Vexari and the humans. The reports suggest a symbiotic relationship we never considered possible. Nonsense, Wright snapped. The humans are too primitive to understand what they're dealing with. When the Vexari turns on them, and it will be too late. Back on Earth, Spark and Olivia were walking in a garden near Defense Headquarters. Their constant telepathic connection had created a deep bond between them. Spark could now form more complex thoughts and even had begun to understand human emotions. Suddenly, Spark froze. Its scales flashed to a deep red, a color Olivia had never seen before. Through their link, she felt intense alarm. "What is it?" she asked, concerned. Images flooded her mind, ships moving silently, weapons powering up, soldiers preparing for attack. "They're coming," she whispered, understanding immediately. "Alliance Special Forces." She reached for her communicator, but before she could activate it, the sky lit up with a brilliant flash. A stealth ship appeared directly above the garden, and armored soldiers began to descend on zip lines. Olivia grabbed Spark and ran toward the building, but they were quickly surrounded. The soldiers aimed weapons directly at Spark. "By order of the Galactic Alliance High Council, we are taking custody of the Vexari weapon," the leader announced through his helmet speaker. "Do not interfere if you value your life." Spark stepped in front of Olivia protectively. Its scales began to glow with energy, and the soldiers tensed, fingers on triggers. "Spark, no!" Olivia cried, fearing what would happen next. In that moment, Spark made a decision. It could easily destroy these soldiers. Its powers were far greater than their weapons. But that would only prove the Alliance right about its destructive nature. Instead, Spark released a pulse of energy that swept over the soldiers. Their weapons sparked and went dead. Their armor locked up, freezing them in place without harming them. Alarms were blaring throughout the facility now. General Nakamura and Commander Bailey arrived with security forces, quickly taking the immobilized Alliance soldiers into custody. "They tried to take Spark," Olivia explained, still shaken. "It could have killed them all, but it just disabled their equipment instead." General Nakamura looked at the Vexari with new respect. Even when attacked, it chose not to harm them. Ambassador Chen, who had arrived moments later, already had her communicator out. "I'm contacting the Alliance High Council immediately. This unauthorized attack is a direct violation of diplomatic protocols." As security led the captured soldiers away, Spark's scales returned to their normal iridescent color. Through the telepathic link, Olivia felt no anger from the creature, only sadness and a firm resolve. The failed attack would have consequences no one could yet predict. Across the galaxy, news would spread that humans had somehow tamed the most dangerous creature in known space, and more importantly, that the Vexari itself had chosen mercy over destruction when given the chance for revenge. The balance of power was shifting, and Earth suddenly found itself at the center of a galactic revolution. 3 months after the failed Alliance attack, representatives from 27 different species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall on Earth. It was the largest interstellar meeting ever hosted by humans. At the center of attention was Spark, the last known Vexari, who had become a symbol of resistance against Alliance control. Supreme Chancellor Alan Wade of Earth's unified government stood at the podium, addressing the gathered delegates. "We welcome you all to Earth. What began as the protection of a single refugee has grown into something much larger, a chance to reshape our relationships across the galaxy." Ambassador Nancy Chen stood next to him with Olivia and Spark nearby. The Vexari's scales shimmered with a calm blue glow as it observed the proceedings. On the other side of the hall sat a small delegation from the Galactic Alliance, including High Counselor Ziv. Admiral Wright was noticeably absent, having been removed from his position after the unauthorized attack on Earth. "The Alliance has agreed to this summit to discuss the Vexari situation," High Counselor Ziv said, when it was his turn to speak. "But our position remains firm. The Vexari were created as weapons and remain dangerous regardless of their current behavior. Murmurs of disagreement spread through the hall. Many of the species present had suffered under Alliance policies and were eager for change. Dr. Kevin Bell approached the podium next, presenting his findings. Our research confirms that the Vexari possess remarkable abilities, including matter manipulation at the quantum level. However, brain pattern analysis shows no inherent aggression. In fact, their neural pathways suggest a natural inclination toward healing and creation, rather than destruction. Olivia stepped forward, Spark beside her. Through their telepathic bond, the Vexari shared information that she translated for the assembly. Spark has revealed something extraordinary, she announced. The genetic material of other Vexari still exists, preserved in Alliance vaults. With proper care, the species could be restored. This news caused an uproar. High Counselor Ziv looked deeply troubled. That is classified information. The decision to preserve those samples was made for scientific research only. You mean for more weapons? Challenged the representative from the Novan Collective. The Alliance has always sought to control the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Chancellor Wade raised his hands for quiet. We're not here to assign blame. We're looking for a way forward. Earth proposes a compromise. Ambassador Chen outlined the plan. We suggest a controlled restoration of the Vexari under careful conditions. Based on what we've learned from Spark, we believe human companions are key to helping the Vexari maintain emotional stability while using their powers. You're proposing to create more of these beings? High Counselor Ziv asked incredulously. The risk is too great. The risk of continuing as we have been is greater, Chancellor Wade countered. The Alliance's control through fear has created resentment across the galaxy. This is a chance for a new beginning. As the debate continued, no one noticed a group of figures slipping into the balcony above the assembly floor. They wore the insignia of an Alliance extremist faction that opposed any compromise. Spark noticed them first. Through its telepathic link with Olivia, it sent a warning. But before she could alert security, the extremists aimed weapons at the assembly floor. Death to the Vexari and its sympathizers, one of them shouted as they fired. Chaos erupted. Delegates scrambled for cover. Security forces drew weapons. But before anyone could be hurt, Spark moved to the center of the room. Its scales blazing with brilliant white light, Spark raised all 6 limbs. A dome of shimmering energy expanded outward from its body, covering the entire assembly. The energy weapon blasts struck the dome and dissipated harmlessly. Everyone froze, watching in awe. The dome didn't just protect those who supported Spark, it covered everyone equally, including the Alliance delegates. Security quickly apprehended the extremists. When the danger passed, Spark allowed the energy dome to fade. Its scales dimmed as it returned to Olivia's side, clearly exhausted by the effort. High Counselor Ziv approached slowly, his expression thoughtful. You protected us as well, he said, addressing Spark directly. You could have let us die to eliminate opposition, Spark chirped softly. Olivia translated. Spark says that all life deserves protection. The Vexari were never meant to destroy. They were meant to preserve and create. The incident changed the tone of the summit. Even the skeptical Alliance representatives couldn't deny what they had witnessed. The creature they had feared and labeled as a weapon had used its power only to protect, even shielding those who wished to destroy it. Over the next week, negotiations progressed rapidly. A historic agreement began to take shape. The Alliance would release the preserved Vexari genetic material to Earth. A program would be established to carefully restore the species, with each new Vexari bonded to a human companion who would help guide their development. In return, the human-Vexari pairs would serve as peacekeepers and problem-solvers throughout the galaxy, using their unique abilities to help all species. The Alliance would maintain oversight, but would not have direct control. 6 months later, in a specially built facility on Earth, the first new Vexari came into the world. Small and delicate, with scales that shifted through rainbow colors, it opened its eyes to see a human child selected for compatibility waiting nearby. The moment they saw each other, a bond formed. Not forced or engineered, but natural and immediate. The child laughed with delight as the young Vexari chirped happily and sent its first telepathic greeting. Olivia and Spark watched from nearby, feeling a sense of completion. Through their bond, Spark shared its emotions: joy, hope, and something like pride. It worked, Dr. Bell said, checking his instruments. The telepathic connection established instantly, just as it did with you and Spark. General Nakamura, watching from behind a window with High Counselor Ziv, nodded with satisfaction. A new beginning. My colleagues are still nervous, Ziv admitted. This changes everything we thought we knew about security in the galaxy. Change was needed, Captain Amanda Roberts said, standing beside them. The old system was built on fear. This one is built on cooperation. 5 years later, human Vexari pairs had become renowned throughout the galaxy. Where once the Vexari had been feared as the most dangerous creatures in known space, they were now welcomed as healers, builders, and peacekeepers. Their abilities, guided by human compassion and ethics, helped solve problems that had seemed insurmountable. Olivia and Spark led a new academy teaching interspecies cooperation. Under their guidance, other species began to explore similar partnerships, discovering new ways to work together across the biological divides that had separated them for so long. The galaxy entered a new era of cooperation and discovery, and it had all begun because one ship's crew had made a choice: to protect rather than destroy, to understand rather than fear. Humanity had indeed discovered the galaxy's most dangerous creature. But in choosing to adopt it rather than eliminate it, they had revealed a truth the Alliance had never understood: that the greatest power comes not from weapons or control, but from trust, compassion, and cooperation. In embracing the Vexari, humans had changed not only their own destiny, but the course of galactic history.